Hello, this is Bob Dunn with Gibbs & Associates. This is demo number 3 of the Tombstone Management system. In this particular demonstration, we're going to focus on running custom sides. So you notice side 1 flange down and a small flange that we're going to drill here. Then side 2, the flange on the square part is up and we're drilling a larger bolt circle. Then on side 3, it's a round part. We're drilling a bolt circle around the smaller face, and side number 4, we're drilling a bolt circle with the flange up. Now as we go through this, each of these parts is machined with tool 1, and so what we're going to do is we're going to take tool number 1 and start sorting things out, and we'll show you why here as we go ahead and move over. So let's turn off the cut part render, move the tombstone into the body bag. Go into plugins, machine simulation, machine sim. And let's bring the machine around where you can see it, and we'll pan this up and zoom up a little bit for you here. Now as we go through and run this and you see what's happening here, you can see tool 1 running around that bolt circle, then it switches to tool 2 and tool 3 on B0. Then indexing to B90, it comes back in with tool number 1 and then runs a larger tap set. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and stop this. We're going to take these 4 machining operations that are done with tool number 1 and we're going to move to position number 1 in the list. Then with tool number 2, we're going to go ahead and take these 2 operations and move them to position number 5. Now tool number 3, we will move these to position number 7. And then tool number 4, we'll grab this operation and just move it right up so the 2 tool 4s run one right after another. Now as we go through and take a look at this, let's run it through one more time. From B0, tool 1 now stays in the spindle and runs each part individually. What we need to do is we need to run multiple parts on each face. So let's stop this. What we're going to do is go into plugins, toolpath, TMS, setup, stock, and fixtures. And as we do, let's select the first position at B0, the square part with the flange down. What we're going to do is we're going to have 2 parts. They will step center to center at 5.5 inches, and they will start at X0. On the y-axis we will have 2 parts, again stepping at 5.5 inches center to center. Then on the b-axis, these parts, square part with the flange down, will happen on one side of the b-axis, and that will be at B0. And let's go ahead and set, and we can see the positions out here. Now the next part, the square part with the flange up, again we'll have a count X2 stepping at 5.5 starting at X0. Then on the y-axis, again a count of 2 stepping at 5.5 center to center starting at Y0. On the b-axis, it will happen one time, but we're going to place this at 90 degrees, and let's set that information. And so now we can see stock out here at the B90. Now the round part is a little different. We're going to have a count of 1 on the x-axis stepping at 0. On the y-axis, a count of 3 stepping at 5.5 inches. On the b-axis, because it's the round part with the flange facing down, it's going to happen one time, and it's going to happen at B180, and let's set that information. And we can see that information on the back. Now the round part with the flange facing up, again, a count of 1 on the x-axis stepping at X0. The y-axis, 3 parts centered at 5.5. The b-axis, one time, happening at B270, and let's set this information. So now we can go ahead and close this. Let's stop, rewind the cut part render, and we'll go set up the Tombstone Management. So plugins, toolpath, TMS, setup TMS. And as we go through this, we're going to tell it we're running multiple parts, but we're going to run a part layout that is not standard. We're using custom sides. On the b-axis, we're going to give a count of 4 sides. So in this area here, you can see the count 1, side 2, side 3, side 4, etc. So on side number 1, it's happening at B0. the count on the x-axis will be 2 parts, stepping at 5.5 inches center to center, starting at x0. On the y-axis, 2 parts, stepping at 5.5 inches center to center, starting at y0. Now, as the tools run up and down, we want them to run parallel to the y-axis first. And then we're going to ask the toolpath to zigzag up and down the y, and also wind up and unwind the b-axis. Then over on side number 2, this will happen at B90, again with a count of 2 parts on the x-axis, stepping at 5.5 inches center to center, starting at x0. On the y-axis, a count of 2, stepping at 5.5 inches center to center, starting at y0. Again, up, running parallel to the y-axis first, zigzagging up and down the y-axis and the b-axis. Now on the third side, side number 3 is side 180, B180. Now these are the round parts. On the x-axis we're having a count of 1 part. On the y-axis, a count of 3 parts, stepping at 5.5 inches center to center, starting at y0. And we'll ask it run parallel to the y, zigzag up and down the b. On the fourth side, this value is B270. Again, 1 part on the x-axis. On the y-axis, 3 parts, centered at 5.5 inches, starting at y0. And we'll set y, zigzag b. Now let's group, and we're going to group by tool. And what happens is group number 1 uses operations 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if we go over here, let's tell it OK, and let's stop the operation here, the cut part render, scroll back up to the top. So you can see 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's pop open, and we can see group number 1 is operations 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what it's done is it's grouped each individual tool into a group, every operation. Now we're going to give it some more information because we're going to tell it how we want it to run the sides. So let's go add, not operations, but from a coordinate system. We're going to get the coordinate system. Off of coordinate system number 2, the square flange down at B0, we're going to go ahead and tell it it's not all B's, it's only happening at the first B, OK. And so we see operations from CS2 happen on the first instance of the B-axis. Let's go add more. So from a CS, get CS, CS number 3, square flange facing up at B90. Tell it OK. Now this one we're going to do a little differently. On the sides we're going to tell it partial. It's happening on side number 2, OK. And so we see whatever operations are happening from CS number 3 are happening on side number 2. Let's add CS, get CS from side 4, CS number 4, round side down at B180. Now partial, this will happen on the third side, OK. Then let's add the last side in from the CS, get CS, CS number 5, the round part with the flange facing up at B270, OK. Select partial for the B-axis on the fourth side, OK. So we have enough information now to run this. Let's stop the CPR and rewind it. And we see all of the parts loaded up onto the machine, ready to go. So as we go around, you can see everything in position where we want to run. And let's go ahead and run the cut part render now, the machine simulation. So tool number 1 now starts at B0 and it runs all 4 parts as we've specified. Indexes to B90 and comes in and runs the bolt circle around those. And again, notice it is zigzagging up and down the y-axis and also the b-axis. Again, tool number 1 at the B180, drilling the small bolt circle around the round part, indexing to B270, drilling the large bolt circle. Tool change, and we'll come in with the small tool and drill the bolt circle for the small tapped hole at B180 and also at B0. And we'll speed this up for you a little bit here. Now, no matter how many parts you have, no matter what their size, what their shape, you can set up custom sides. If you have a 6-sided tombstone, you can go ahead and give it 6 sides and tell it the specific information for each individual side. The parts that are round are a different size in the z-axis, in the z-axis. The square parts are taller. So you can see software knows everything about what's happening here, goes through and does everything. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the demo.